Hi, welcome to Tales from the Sky Lounge. It's a podcast about business, consulting, and venture investing. We get out there in the world and we talk to people who are making it happen and we get their stories. If you could like and subscribe, it really helps us get our message out there. So today's guest in the Sky Lounge, Jim Rozich. Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see
Welcome
you, Todd.
to the Sky Lounge. Yeah.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on?
Well, I recently founded a consulting company for early stage startups called Wheels Up Sales and Marketing. And the goal of this company, our mission, is to help early stage founders get their products into the market via CRM implementation, email messaging, and lead generation. What we see in the market is a lot of founders have great ideas, but they don't have a sales background. So they have a lot of misconceptions about CRM and marketing. So they think that they're just going to take a tool, send out thousands of emails, and magically they're going to become a unicorn. And it doesn't really work that way. Anyone who's founded a company such as yourself, I think, can attest to that.
Absolutely.
So what I do is I get in there early on and I help set up the actual, I call it the unglamorous part of a startup. The business processes, the sales processes to get their product, to get some traction and understand what's working and what isn't working and fix that.
Well, that's awesome. And you're doing the Lord's work there with the early stage folks. There's very important work in the ecosystem to get, fledgling companies off the ground. And, it's sometimes it's hard work and it's unrewarded, but it's very important to get these folks off the ground, get them going. Mm-hmm. So you and I were talking the other night. We were at the SIGI Awards, which is kind of a fun thing for early stage angel investors award ceremony. So dealing in early stage is a unique skill set. It's that kind of commando phase where it's a little bit messy, it's a little bit violent sometimes, but a lot of stuff's happening very quickly. And you just got to get stuff done. Where do you think the industry is right now in terms of early stage investing? I know venture VC has had a down couple of years, but I think early stage is definitely a different animal. What are you seeing out there in the world in terms of early stage venture investing and people starting companies in general?
So, two things that are going on. First of all, early stage investing is certainly changing. The money's just not out there for, well, you put it when we were talking napkin ideas. You can't go to an investor and say, I've got this great idea, and they'll give you, $100,000, $200,000 to help get it off the ground. So it becomes more incumbent on founders to find alternate paths to financing, alternate accelerators, things like that. And that's part one. So part two is, the good news is there are some alternates. So we're seeing, for instance, the state of Georgia that, we're most familiar with, has given great support to the startup community through such organizations as ATDC and Georgia Tech. So they're really stepping up. So you are seeing individual states that are working to help advance causes, advance the startup environment. You're also seeing what I think looking forward we're going to see is that people themselves are going to start considering startup investing, angel investing, if you will, as a part of a diversified portfolio. We're already seeing that with Bitcoin, right? There's people buying Bitcoin that never would have thought about buying something like that 5-10 years ago. But they're looking at it and saying, well, this could fit into my portfolio. I own some stocks and I own some, a house or condo. And so I think going forward, you're going to see a shift where people are going to say, well, I can start investing in companies because, what I believe is that startups are the new bricks and mortar shops of 100 years ago. It's not to say bricks and mortar are going to go away. We were told they were going to go away 50 years ago because of the internet, or 25 years ago, but they haven't. But startups are the new bricks and mortar. So you have an idea, The technology is there. You have a little bit of money, maybe get some friends and family money, and you can launch your idea. And, as we all know, startups kind of have the same profile in terms of failure rate as bricks and mortar shops, restaurants as well. So it fits into the profile. So that's what I think going forward. That's the most interesting thing to me is I think you're going to see a big shift in just normal people that would never have thought of investing in a startup suddenly getting involved in this community.
There's a lot more $10,000 checks than there are $1 million checks in any given city or any region. So it's something to think about, the democratization of the investments into these little, companies. Not everybody is, on the mid or late part of their career and have a really rich network of folks that have a little bit extra money. Particularly in that younger set, it's hard to find that money. But I think also, it's easier than ever to start a little company, a tech-enabled company. You can be an instant merchant at the end of the day with like a Shopify or WooCommerce or something like that, or Amazon. It's super, super easy to get into business, and it becomes kind of back to exactly what you're talking about, that fundamental like shopkeeper mentality, small business. It's the same. You don't have to be a tech savvy entrepreneur from Silicon Valley to start a nice little business on the web, or, using some of these fancy tools that are out there now for distribution through, like fulfillment centers and that kind of thing.
Well, exactly. And let's back up a little bit too. Let's go to what people are majoring in college. When I can't speak for you, but when I attended college, I went to a liberal arts school. You had history, you had, there weren't a lot of choices. But now there's entrepreneurship programs that are fascinating, where they have mentors, they have programs. There's outside nonprofits, some of which you and I are familiar with, that go into universities and even high schools and run entrepreneurship programs. So kids are starting at an early age to get an idea of how to found a business. And when you do that, then it makes it just all the more attractive to be that entrepreneur. Or I should say, it becomes less scary to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, and then so I had a board member that used to tell me, like, you have to make stuff and you have to sell stuff, and then the rest of it's kind of details, right? But you have to do those two things, So, the make stuff, used to be you had to like grind away and spend millions of dollars to get some software out the door, and then you could start to sell. I don't think that's true anymore. You can hack out a piece of software pretty easy today, or a lot quicker and cheaper than you used to be able to anyway. And then there's physical goods that you can buy and sell, and then there's like services. That's a natural, easy thing to sell to get into business. Plumbers and electricians and bakeries used to be. So the sell stuff, it all kind of comes back around to you. No matter what you have, good or service, or you have to sell it. So what does that look like for somebody who kind of knows what the make stuff looks like? And they come to somebody like you, and then they say, man, I am not real sure how to go to market. We tried, buying a list from some spammer that is an email list, and it didn't work. What do we do? Right. So kind of kind of walk us through, like, what is that? What's your kind of favorite playbook, for that young entrepreneur that's got to make stuff kind of sort of covered and needs to go to market and develop that part of their business.
Right. So it's all about, to me, it all boils down to creating value for the person that you're selling it to. They have to see value. Why do you buy something? You either buy something to solve a problem, or you buy something to help improve your profitability. If you're a business, if you're like a B2B, if you're selling a B2B product, then your buyers are either looking to make more money, or they're looking to solve a problem, which effectually is costing them money. Mm-hmm. So what value? The biggest mistake that I see with early stage founders, and, I call it founder's disease. Mm-hmm. The biggest mistake I see is that they go to market thinking that they go with a feature set. And you see this with salespeople. There's more and more salespeople entering the workforce every day, but they're not getting the proper training on true sales methodology. And you can go back 2,000 years. So sales has not changed. You have to provide a value. You have to understand what the customer's problem is. You have to get permission from the customer to get to their problem. You can't call someone up and say, I've got this product. Tell me about your problems. They're not going to tell you that. So you have to be able to talk to people and follow a methodology to uncover the issues that they're trying to solve. And then hopefully your product matches some or all of those issues, and then get across that value. So too many founders go, again, with this feature set. I have this product, and I'm working with one right now on this, that uses this email that we all get in our inboxes every day. And emailing, let me also back up and say, emailing is still the most cost-effective marketing channel. Cold emailing is the most cost-effective marketing channel for early stage startups to get directly to customers, potential customers. So they'll go to market and they don't have any training. They've built this product. They love this product. It's their child. They think it's great. They think if you don't buy this product, there's something wrong with you. So they send out a bunch of emails and they start out with something like, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm the founder of this and this. We do this and this. Here's a bullet point list of everything we do. I would love to show you a demo of my product." So you're selling somebody right away from the very first minute they open the email. And studies show that 70% of potential buyers are not buying today of that product. Mm-hmm. So if they're not in the market for exactly what you're selling, then you have no chance. But they could be in the market for what you're selling, except for you're telling them all these features and they don't see the benefits. So what I talk to them about is the value. And we also talk about who their buyer is. They'll say, well, I've got an HR tool. I want to sell it to HR directors. So they'll go out and buy a list of HR directors and maybe engage with an AI platform and send thousands of emails. It's the spray and pray. Mm-hmm. And invariably, these lists are really sloppy. Again, we all get emails every day. I got one. Why don't you sell me office furniture? Why are you contacting me?
Yeah.
So, do you want a list of credit card companies? So you're taking your life into your own hands. So then what happens is they start using these bad lists, and then they start running into email deliverability issues mm-hmm. where they can get turned off. So it can all snowball. And in the meantime, they're losing money. They're not selling anything. So my goal is to cut through all that and show them how to provide value in an email format in 6 sentences. So I'm using that as a relative term. But, okay. I go to them and I say in 6 sentences, we've got to get permission to have a discovery call with this person. So how are you going to do that?
Okay. Got to be brief and to the point and ask for permission to then talk about the problems.
Right. But in order to get to that point, this is the rub, is you have to build trust. They always say people buy from people they like, but mm-hmm. how do you do that in an email? I say people buy from people that have some credibility. People buy from people that they trust. So how do you build mm-hmm. trust in a 6-sentence email? And the easiest way that I've found, and I call this value-based messaging, is to cite a common industry problem. You want them to think that you're not just another salesperson, that you actually know something about the industry. And the easiest way to do that is cite a common problem that your product conveniently solves. So you say, in this industry, there's an issue, as you know, I love to start emails out with, as you know, because now you're putting them on the spot. Oh, I better know this. If they don't know it, then they're like, I got to find something out. If they do know that, then they say, hey, this guy knows something that we have some common ground. As you know, this XYZ industry has this type of problem. Here at such and such company, we do this and this. You don't get into features. You just mention we've got a product that helps do this and this and this. Are you open to a brief conversation? That's it. It's non-threatening. You're not pounding, you're not selling, you have nothing to sell at this point. You're just trying to get a discovery call where you can then go into a little bit more depth and talk about the industry, and hopefully they'll begin to trust you and begin to open up a little bit.
Okay. Well, let's kind of like expand that a little bit. Let's talk about maybe a little bit before you start the email list, and maybe a little, what happens when you start to get these nibbles. Maybe before you do the email list, I kind of have this working theory of founders. You really need to be in that industry, and I think you hit it right on the head there. Like you need to be credible with your target audience, with your prospective clients. And the easiest way, the most direct, authentic way to do that is actually be in the industry, have a bunch of friends, have experienced that pain for yourself. I love messaging like, hey, I was working at blah, and just like you, and I experienced this problem and I couldn't stand anymore. So I started this company to deal with that problem. And then now you're both on the same side of the table going, yep, that's definitely a problem. I've got this solution. I would really love to give your feedback. Ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. Pitbull was a lyric. But, so those first like 10 customers, my working theory is you really have to be able to call people, and be able to put this in front of the first 10 people and close anything with the first couple people, even before you get to email. Do you find that that's true?
Oh, yeah.
And then you like to get,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is more of a scaling idea,
Mm-hmm.
presumably, and I mean, it can go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But, the goal is to get your first couple of customers. It's always do whatever you can to get your first couple of customers. But if you want to grow the company, you have to be able to scale.
Right.
And you can't be that hyper personalized. You're going to have to hire salespeople. They may not know the same about the industry as you do.
Okay.
So,
all right, so let's push on that end of it, right? So you got a couple, and then you start to craft these messages. Does that message evolve as you get referenceable customers, and then you now kind of understand the exact things to say to people, and then you begin to hire that first individual contributor sales role? Kind of walk us through kind of that progression as you see it.
Well, I view that as more of a marketing. Once you start going larger scale marketing, once you hire a marketing person and start doing that type of referenceable customers. I know what you're talking about. You're like, hey, we solved this problem for XYZ company. And that's fine. I think that's more, again, something that's more of a marketing. When you're doing cold one-to-one cold calls or cold emails, I think all you're trying to do is pique interest so that the person receiving it says, this person might have something of value to me. Mm-hmm. This person, I see value in having a 30-minute conversation with this person. I'm not sure what that value is, but there might be something here for me to talk to them about. I'm not trying to solve their problems first off the bat. I don't know what their problems are. They may not have that same problem that I'm referencing. Mm-hmm. So that email, what I'm trying to create is literally curiosity, and say, I'm interested in having a brief conversation. It's not a sales. I'm not pounding them. I've got nothing I'm trying to sell them at this point in time. I'm not trying to solve a problem.
Okay. And then, let's talk about the scalability, right? So you start to get traction, and people are responding to the message, and then you get more than a couple, calendar invites per day. What does that scale up look like? What's your favorite kind of, what processes do you like to put into place? You have to build new processes as you scale startups. what does the team look like, and then kind of what's the tech stack of that scale up? What does that process look like for a young founder?
Yeah. So now you're kind of getting into RevOps. So let's face it, when you're talking, as you said, you want to get your first 10 clients. Most companies aren't built to scale when they first start out. These 10 first clients, you're giving white glove approach. You're the CEO. You're the first salesperson, probably. You're talking to them all the time. You're asking them how to improve the product, and that's great. But you couldn't handle 100 new clients. You couldn't service them. You couldn't sell them. So now you're talking about RevOps. And it's important to understand that RevOps is what it isn't. It isn't a tool. It isn't a set of tools. It's a methodology whereby you're evaluating, you have your tech stack that is designed to all work in concert with your sales team, your marketing team, and your support team to generate data. And then that data, how you use that data, determines if you're either going to use it poorly or you're going to use it well. And if you use it well, then you're going to be successful. So that's how you have to look at that whole scaling idea. It's you have to take a look at your business and say, how can I grow this? So tech stack, you have to have a CRM. You can start working off of, I know that's where you're going, but I wanted to get that whole thing out there. There's no one tool that makes up RevOps, and there are a bunch of tools, and you have to be really careful that you don't end up with too many tools.
Yes, as a CTO,
because we all love tools.
Yes, you can cut a lot of credit card recurring subscriptions in a hurry.
I
a little startup, right?
Like, for sure. Why am I paying $6 a month? What am I paying $6 a month for?
Yeah, right.
They creep, and it happens to all of us. I've even seen tools that go through all your tools and tell you which tools aren't being used, and you can get rid of them.
For $29.95 a month, right? Or $19.95 a month.
But if you're a Fortune 500 company with thousands and thousands of tools, something like that makes a lot of sense. So you have to look at where you are. So you have to start with a CRM, in my opinion. And again, this takes us into a common misconception amongst founders, and that is that CRM is just a data repository for email accounts that you just dump a bunch of, you buy your list or what have you. You use your AI tool to scrub LinkedIn or whatever and dump a bunch of leads in there and start emailing them. But it's really so much more than that. It's data organization that gives you the visualization of how to improve your business. One simple thing is you can track how many touches it takes to get that first discovery call. So if it takes you 10 touches to get that first discovery call, then you know that you don't want to do 6 touches.
Better start touching people.
Touching people, but you build your cadence 10 steps.
Okay.
So then you put that in your CRM. Okay, I've engaged with Todd. I've sent him email number 1. I've called him number 2. I've sent him email number 3. I've done this. You build that within the CRM so you can now operate most efficiently. Most CRMs have what they call tasks, where you just punch a couple buttons and your task is automated. So you know when to touch them next, every 2 or 3 days, however that may be. So it's real easy to use a CRM to scale, even if you're a small and cost effective. You don't have to buy really expensive. There are several that give you, if you're really small, a free trial. Granted, that's very limited, but it's a start if you're cash strapped. It's better than a spreadsheet. So
you like these, and I'm a big fan of do it manually until you are suffering and then automate. And then, you probably got a pretty good idea of what it should be over and over and over again. Do you have a favorite, you want to name names on technologies? I've seen, Zoho and Sitely. I've seen Go High Level. I've seen HubSpot. I've seen Salesforce. It's probably overkill for a startup, but maybe you get a good deal on one of these accelerators. Do you have they're all good. Do you have a favorite one, or do you have?
Well, that's the thing.
Certain things you look for, or how do you?
I'm a HubSpot person.
Okay.
I'm a HubSpot partner. I started using HubSpot many years ago, 10 years ago, maybe. And what impressed me about it was that it really was focused on improving the salesperson's life. So I got into this whole business because I ended up working in the startup world. I'd been in technology sales, and I ended up working for a startup. And I really liked it. And I got introduced to HubSpot, and I thought, wow, this is really, really geared towards me, the salesperson. And it still maintains that. Now it's a huge company, but when it was first starting out, they would if you were a startup, they deeply discounted, great customer service. They still have very good customer service, but they're a huge company now. Now they're adding tools and expanding into all these other areas, which you have to do in order to grow. But I still feel that they've maintained a relevancy to the one-to-one salesperson that's out there banging on doors trying to make sales.
Okay.
So I'm a fan of HubSpot, but Zoho's very good, catching wind. As you said, Salesforce has gone in a direction. If you were to ask me what the best CRM is, I would say, well, you need to look at 20 or 30 CRMs and see what one fits what you're trying to do in your business. There are CRMs that are specific to law firms, specific to life sciences, nonprofit. Well, Salesforce has a deal with nonprofits, but there is no one size fits all. But I would say that for a B2B SaaS startup, you couldn't go wrong with HubSpot.
Yeah, solid choice for sure.
Spoken as a partner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm not a partner. I have no affiliation, but I've not seen any HubSpot stuff go sideways, technically or mechanically. Yeah, I think it's a very solid first choice, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, let's talk about like integrations. Email's one channel, and it already certainly is going to go bang on LinkedIn and maybe some other social media type outreach. How do you think about like the cross channel, or when you design that early funnel, that 10 touches or 6 or however many it is, if it's all email, just a different number of days apart, that's probably not as effective as if you had a blended, couple email touches or an email and a LinkedIn outreach, and depending on what happens, do something else. How fancy do you get, or how do you think about multi? You can get carried away on channels that don't matter. We talk about analytics in a second, maybe. How do you think about building those early funnels?
So this boils down to very early in the process. You determine, number one, who's your ideal customer profile, right? Who are we selling this to? Is this something for Fortune 500 companies? I don't sell to Fortune 500 companies. Is this something that I sell to startups? What's the ideal customer profile? How big are they? What's their revenue? And then within that, who's the buyer? And within that, what channels are the buyer on? So it's really, where can I find this buyer? If you're a B2C, then you have to be on Instagram. You may not have to be on Facebook, but you may have to be on Instagram.
Or
you
TikTok.
may have to be on TikTok. Right.
Yeah, sir.
So you have to take a look. This is of critical importance. Where do your buyers spend their time?
Okay.
For what I'm doing for B2B, I'm on LinkedIn mostly, and I'm actually on moving more towards LinkedIn. I'm finding the last couple of years, LinkedIn is becoming an increasingly important channel for B2B. Whereas people before just viewed it as, well, I've got my thing, my profile out there, and whatever happens, happens. But now there's more and more marketing on LinkedIn, and it's more acceptable. People will, they will communicate with you on LinkedIn, whereas they may not communicate with you via email. So going back and forth, I think is very important and useful in that relevance. But again, as I said, where is your buyer spending their time? And that's where you need to be. And that's what medium you then need to master. Don't try to master 5 different channels. You can't. You'll end up doing most of them average.
Right.
And find the one or two where they really are, and then concentrate on that.
Yeah. Kind of reflecting on something you said earlier, in the context of LinkedIn, you get, how do I know these people? And then who is this turkey that's trying to reach out to me? And I can, before I even engage with you, I've now been provided with that context of who is this, and then how credible do I find them? Right. And then if I open it up and, you've got a pretty good track record of companies I recognize, and, we know 50 people in common, okay, I'm going to take that a lot more seriously than, some, bozo from, some weird place I've never heard of, that's got a thin, LinkedIn profile that probably just started yesterday with no picture, like there's no chance I'm going to answer that at all.
There are a lot of, there was a period there where I was getting a lot of fake LinkedIn profiles hitting me up for stuff, wanting to be, connected to me. And I'd look at their profile and they had no information and nothing matched in the profile. And to this day, I haven't figured out exactly what the scam was, but I knew there was a scam in there.
Yeah. I think they were, there was these new tools come and go quickly. And with, AI, we talk about that in a second, but, AI lets you do a lot of damage in a hurry. So I think it was, go get, so like in the dating website world, somebody approached me at one point. They said, "Hey, we have a know your customer kind of problem. Like these people go and they capture a really attractive like Russian news anchor picture and put that on a profile, and you go, oh yeah, that person looks really good, incredible, and and then they craft this brand new profile, and then so it's kind of like a throwaway junk email or LinkedIn profile or social dating profile." And then, so how quickly can you craft these things and just spam the crap out of the world, and then they seem reasonable. I'll connect, but that I think people are kind of onto that now. And it's good to be a little bit more discerning, particularly when you get 5 of those that appear, in one day. They're obviously running the same tool, on the same whatever,
And
so
you can see that now. You can see that in your emails, and you can see that on the LinkedIn profiles. And there are some very good AI tools that are for LinkedIn connecting that do just fine. There's nothing wrong with them. For AI, which we might as well get into AI now.
Yeah.
For AI, I love it. I use it as much as possible. But it's a tool, first of all. And you have to say, well, it can be used for good or it can be used for evil. So it's up to you how you use it. And I do this in some of my trainings, is I will have ChatGPT or whatever write an email. And the email is almost always feature-based for this product. It almost always says, I'd love to do a demo for you. It's what I quoted earlier. It's my name is so-and-so, blah, 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 and blah, feature based and blah, blah, blah. And the reason is that, at least so far, AI hasn't figured out how to sell. It doesn't understand human psychology, buyer's psychology. So it can only be feature based. I told somebody the other day, I'm like, ChatGPT doesn't love to do demos. It loves electricity. That's really all it really loves. So, all right. So think about that. So what AI is great for in marketing is ideation.
Yes, I agree.
I've got this customer. These are what a typical customer has pain points around. What are some of the reasons that this customer would do this? What are some value-based observations on this type of customer? And then you can incorporate them into an email. What is plaguing this industry? So AI is, from a marketing and sales perspective, AI is great for ideation. Then you take that and you put it in a format that brings out that human touch. As we get more and more automated, the need for true personalization becomes more and more. You need to stand out more and more from your competition, but not just your competition, your competition for their mind share, their email box. If their email box is getting flooded with all the same emails, you don't want to sound like that. And a lot of them are AI driven, and a lot of them are driven by people that don't have any training on sales.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't understand sales methodology and buyer psychology, then what you're going to end up with is the same email. I'm so-and-so. This is my company. We do this. Please, can we have a call? I want to solve I know I can solve your problem. And I see it every day. And I don't want to be like those people. So when you're competing for mailbox share, for mind share, you have to stand out. You have to be a little bit different. There's lots of these different emails. There's the to the point email. How many times have you seen this? Hi, Todd. I'll get right to the point. I sell lists. I got a list of 25,000 people that is going to make your life perfect. Sound good? Let's have a call.
Yeah, I got 5 or 6 of those in spam this morning. It was truly impressive. I was looking at spam in a fairly new, startup account, and it was like full of stuff like that. It was like, wow, like this never even made it to my inbox because it was all cookie cutter, the same, and then spam filters got it really fast. Their AI got the other AI, canceled each other out. It's kind of fun.
And that's the other problem. If you sound like everyone else, then the spam filters are going to catch you as well.
Mm-hmm. What AI tools are you looking at? I agree with the ideation, the creativity, brain is a great application for the generative LLM type AI that we're seeing emerge. What do you have particular, you mentioned ChatGPT as a favorite one. Do you have any others that you like to use? Are there features?
I'm looking at like Dripify, which is a tool for LinkedIn marketing.
Okay.
Among other things.
Okay.
So I'm looking at that right now. I'm using a tool called Emilia, which is a LinkedIn scraper, because I do a lot of my prospecting through Sales Navigator, which that's a whole nother topic, Sales Navigator.
Good, bad, or ugly, or kind of complicated, right?
A little bit of all three.
Okay.
But so I do a lot of my work through Sales Navigator for clients and for myself.
Okay.
And so it's a little rough around the edges, but I'm happy with it. It scrapes and searches emails.
Okay.
So that's the main thing, is getting good data.
Okay.
And I still find LinkedIn has the best. I don't buy lists. I don't. If you're not going to do that kind of stuff, then LinkedIn is the best place to find the people that you're looking to reach out to.
Okay. Talk about LinkedIn for a second. Ads. How do you like? I think LinkedIn Navigator, Sales Navigator, like that. You kind of have to buy that at some point, and then you got to look at what's going on. I call
that the worst $80 I spend a month, but I have to do it.
But you spend it. So
I spend
what about ads?
Because I really need it.
Have you?
I'm not into ads.
Okay, not at all.
Yeah, no, okay. Not for me.
And what's your what ads? So why so why what's how do you think, like, is it ads later or ads never, or ads are just a waste of money, or
ads later? Okay. I'm still trying to build my brand a bit.
Okay.
And so where I'm going is more kind of where you've gone, and others have gone. I'm looking at channels like these podcasts. I'm looking at LinkedIn newsletter. So as I move towards LinkedIn, I would say ads in the future, but I want to master the present right now. So doing more articles like on what we're talking about on email messaging. I've written, a few blogs, but I haven't put them on LinkedIn yet. So posting more on LinkedIn of relevant info so that it gets in front of the people that I'm connected with, and doing more connecting with the people that I'm interested in working with. Okay.
And then, so you mentioned LinkedIn is obviously in your stack, and then HubSpot's obviously also in your stack. Do you have like a mail component that you like to manage?
I use a HubSpot mailing,
Okay.
The marketing side of HubSpot too.
Okay.
So, HubSpot has the beautiful thing about that is it's integrated with the marketing tool. So you have the sales, the sales side and the marketing side, and it has a support side. And again, this is something that a lot of founders don't understand is that a tool like HubSpot, it's certainly not the only one that can do this, but the more you can run your business with the less tools, the better your RevOps can be.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
So if you have sales, marketing, and support all in one tool, then you're generating data that's right in front of you and can be actionable. And that's the goal. Generating data isn't the goal. Actionable, being able to take actions on that data is the goal. Actions that increase revenue while limiting costs.
So talk about that feedback loop, analytics, what does that look like when you measure, monitor how we doing on this email campaign? Is that a HubSpot thing, or what are you specifically looking for? And then how do you adapt to that? And what does that kind of feedback loop look like?
Yeah. So there's a lot to look for. It seems so simple, and yet there's so much to look for. And that fits into the whole, it can play in so many different areas, but, elementally, from the simplest element, I guess, is how is this campaign performing? How do I measure this campaign? Do I measure it in terms of revenue? Well, that's, definitely you ought to do that. But at first, you may be just looking at, how is this? Am I getting new customers out of this? What am I getting out of this? What am I looking to get out of this? You have to define the parameters of your campaign. Why am I sending this message out? What's it supposed to do? Once you understand that, then you can define, how am I going to measure it? I'm looking at, if you're just sending cold emails out, one-to-one cold emails, then are people opening it? And if they're opening it, how many out of those opens am I getting appointments out of? If they're not opening it, what's the problem? Or if they're opening it and I'm not getting appointments, then what's the problem? Is my message not resonating?
So I had a client that was suffering, from, looking at, if you look at your funnel, you have to contact them. They say yes, you get a meeting, start talking, you qualify them, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually you get revenue. Well, I was arguing, hey, nothing matters unless you're getting revenue, in a $10 million company, something like that. But the sales guy kept looking at this very early stage. We're getting meetings, or we're getting click-throughs, and then never quite got past that, so obviously click-throughs are important, but, how do you think about, turning up this, you got to light up each one of these phases, right? In order, how do you look at that? And then kind of, do you like, okay, we're getting click-throughs, and then now what, is it a different message, or how do you coach people to kind of think about that process of lighting it up all the way through? Because eventually you got to sell something to somebody, right? That's a famous quote from one of my old board members, or else nothing matters,
Well,
motion and not progress.
Where are they dropping out? Where are they dropping out? What are they doing? Are they going to the website? Is something going on the website? What are they doing on the website? There's website tracking tools. There's heat maps. Conversion rate optimization tools. Again, you have to understand the sales process of your business in order to really understand your funnel. Once you do that, then you just have to find out where are they dropping out, and then you start trying to figure out why they're dropping out. I mean, at the end of the day, you're really right. I mean, somebody opens up an email, great, so what? So you get a click through. Okay, then what? Until somebody says, okay, you got a meeting. All right, well, if you're getting a lot of meetings and then they're dropping off, then there's something going wrong in the meetings. If you're doing a lot of demos and they're not leading to sales, how many demos does it take you to get an actual sale? And is this right or is this wrong? If it takes you 10 demos to get a sale, maybe there's something wrong here. What are we doing wrong? And what are we doing in our demos? So then you have to tear the demo apart. Frequently, what you'll see, again, with what I call the people with founder's disease, of which I've worked for a couple, is they will do a demo that takes 45 minutes to an hour for the whole demo.
Oh, geez.
And they talk the whole time, and they show every feature of their tool, including, the back office side of it that the person you're selling to doesn't have anything to do with. And they're like, oh, I got to show you this. I got to show you this. And I actually had a funny story. I was working for a small startup, very respected person in the industry. And we did this demo for this major salesperson, this consultant trainer, real successful. And at the end of the demo, she said, I have no idea what I just saw.
Oh, no.
And he was so crestfallen because he has been very successful in life. This was his third or fourth company. Right. He was just like, because he's going, show her this, show her this, show her this. And it just died. And so
he forgot
it was
the
all
first slide,
feature-based.
right? The first slide of why we're doing this, right?
Why? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to look at. What'd you call it?
Show up and throw up? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's the show up and throw up demo. Yeah. So everybody gets the same demo, right? Everybody gets the same one. Everybody's the same when it's not true, unless you're really commoditizing, unless you're really commoditizing your product. Mm-hmm. So the show up and throw up demo. That is.
Well, I always feel like figure it out fast. Fail forward, fail fast, and pivot. Right, pivot hard. Early and often until you figure it out. So, what you've seen probably some of these companies that take way too long, and they're in love with their product founder syndrome, I think is what you call it. Happens all the time.
Disease.
Right. And then they're not able to let go of this like really, really awesome napkin idea. And, but let's talk about the happy path. Let's talk about like, what does success look like, or in the companies you've seen and helped, how fast does that happen? And then, you get them to click, you got the messaging, they go to the website, they sign up for a calendar, demo, get a demo, and they go, that's not what I thought it was. And then somebody kind of goes, we keep hearing this objection. We probably ought to fix that. And then you fix it, and then demos start going a little better. What does that time typically look like? In the happy path, like we're figuring it out, very successful early stage startup versus, never quite get off the dime and don't understand why their bank account's empty and they're not able to attract funding because there's no revenue.
Through all their money. Well, it's hard to put. It's hard to put a time frame. Because really, what you should be knowing before you go into those demos and before you go into a demo with someone is you should know what they want to see on your product. Mm-hmm. So it shouldn't come out of the demo phase. It should be coming sooner than that. Okay. People should be telling you what's resonating. That's what a discovery call is. You're there to discover. So people are going to say, if you do it right, and sometimes it takes a couple of calls before you get to your demo. But now the way things are compressed nowadays in time, you're trying to do your discovery, your demo, and then, send a proposal. You can talk all day about if that's the right way or not, but
sounds good. But
the way
does it really happen? Yeah.
But let's say during the discovery call, if you've conducted it properly and you're not doing all the talking, remember, the human nature is, I'm going to talk all about my product for 20 of the 30 minutes. when it really should be the other way. The client should be talking about their business for 20 of those 30 minutes, or, something along those lines. So hopefully during your discovery calls, during your early meetings with clients, you're figuring out what's important to them and what they need to see in the demo to sell the product. Mm-hmm. And then you focus on that in the demo. You don't have to show everything. Ideally, if you get it right, a demo is really just to show that it does what it's supposed to do. See, it's easy to use. I told you that it will do this, this, and this. You have this problem. This and this is what you want to solve. Here's how we solve this, this, and this. It's easy. Okay. That's an ideal, perfect world.
Okay. And, I was just thinking, where you're talking, which is always dangerous. So that early discovery, there's a difference between a discovery call and a sales call, and a demo, and a closing call even, right? So you gotta do them in order. You have to discover, especially early, how do you, talk about how you distill, you're learning, right? Very fast. People talk about learning organizations. Every discovery call, you learn a little bit more about your customer in particular, but the market in general. And then you have to put that somewhere, like in a CRM or something. And I was thinking about all these like cool little, like, I got this Plod, we all have these AI, Read, Otter, these are things that kind of pop into your Zoom and record and analyze, and, all these new AI tools that are out there. We have such a great power to distill these insights and put them somewhere. Like, what do you do with, it's a whole nother data management problem, right? How do we think about that? How do you get organized around that? What's the right tool? Is a CRM the right place? Is it something else? Or how are you reacting to these new this flood of information?
Well, I think that you always want to try to spend as much time in the CRM as possible. That should be your base product. Mm-hmm. You are paying for it. And in all likelihood, you're getting all kinds of tools within the CRM that many of us don't even use. Mm-hmm. Going back to HubSpot, it has a e-signing platform, so you can put your proposals together through it, send it out, and invoice through it. So why is that useful? Well, the obvious solution has to do with not having to buy other tools. But the less obvious solution is now you're tracking, it becomes part of the funnel. It becomes, now you are once again having some predictability, having some data right in front of you that you can report on to figure out where things are going wrong in your process, and monitor. We have this person, we have these amount of people in this stage, so now you have revenue predictability, things like that. So there's tools within the CRM that, again, many people don't take advantage of and don't use. So going back to your question, data management is really, it's part of that whole revenue ops philosophy. It's part of taking a look at what data we have and how can we best track it. Can we do it in the CRM? Can we have a checklist? Yes, you can. You can have all kinds of checklists in CRMs that say, okay, how does client fit in? Does client have a need? Does client have this? Who is this client? Bang, 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 bang. So there are ways to do that within your CRM. And again, this is nothing new. People have been qualifying their clients for thousands of years. You can probably go back 2,000 years ago and find clay tablets of Sumerian writing about various clients and what they like and how they like their pickles and fish sauce and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's nothing new. It's just a new way of organizing it. That's all. Got it.
So it sounds like you hang everything off the CRM where possible, and then you can go back and do that retrospective strategic review.
Because of the back end, those reporting capabilities, that's where it's telling you, that's where the magic is.
Show me all the deals that closed Q4. Okay, what do they all have in common? What did we say? What were the objections that we overcame? Okay, let's do more.
What can I look for? What's going on in my CRM? So what can I look forward to 6 months from now?
Okay.
And if I'm not where I want to be in 6 months, what do I have to do To get there, how do I scale?
Mm-hmm.
And what's it going to cost me?
Got it.
Do I need to hire somebody new? If I hire somebody new, what is my return? Is it 3x? Is it 10x? What return do I need to have to make this hire, to pay somebody $100,000 a year or whatever a salary is nowadays to do this?
Do you like the SDR model? It used to be, you make a bazillion calls and you send out a bazillion emails, and then you have like a ratio, and then you hire a bunch of very, very young, fresh out, sales folks that are, very positive and go-getters. Is that still the play? Is it, or do we have to be a little smarter? I do not like the
SDR model. I may be going against the grain here.
No, I think that's secular. That's the winds of change are here, right? That for a minute that was a hot thing.
Yeah, I've used SDR models before. Actually, it's kind of funny. This one company that I was working for did a deal with a I don't even know what you would call this type of company, an SDR company, and this company actually was located in a women's prison.
Oh.
So I went to a women's prison to train people.
No kidding.
So I tell people, yeah, I've been to prison. Sometimes it backfires.
Yeah.
But so we had a group of SDRs who are female inmates at a prison in Arizona that made outbound calls for us and set appointments. But I didn't find the results that compelling. And I still believe that this is part of the personalization. This is part of the human touch. And this is part of knowing your customer. Like, I'm looking at these customers, I'm doing research into them so that when I reach out to them, I know something about them. And I believe that I get higher value appointments. It's not about the quantity of appointments. It's about the quality of the people you're reaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You'd rather have 3 phone calls a day if they were the exact right phone calls than, 100 or 50.
Yeah. So, and that's a different mindset, because everything to do with AI is about quantity. Mm-hmm. We can spit out even more of this stuff.
Well, and that's on the generative side. I do think there's something to be said for the other part of this, where I love the part of LLM technology where you say, here are 1,000 papers, go read them all for me and find the ones that are most likely to talk about A, B, and C. And then now it can go through that stack and find me the 5 papers I really need to write or read. Right. And then, I'm not going to trust AI to summarize it accurately if it's a highly technical thing. But yeah, you cut my work down. I'm not going to read 1,000 papers. Right. I could do things like that. I think
that's good work to be. That's working more efficiently. That's working smarter, not harder.
Right.
So that's good. And let's face it, with AI, we're just scratching the surface.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
It's going to be doing stuff in several years that is going to be truly amazing. The stuff it's doing right now is all, yeah. I mean, yeah. So we're just like using it to write emails. That's, come on.
Yeah.
That's kindergarten.
You got anything you're looking at for the future in terms of AI? What's the next kind of big thing you're looking at in the market, or even in RevOps in general? What are you excited about, or what would you buy if it was ready tomorrow? That's not quite there yet.
What would I buy if it's ready tomorrow? Anything that really helps me understand what my customers, what potential customers need that will help them buy. Anything that helps me give buying insights, I'm interested in. Anything that helps me better understand buyer psychology, I'm interested in.
So for all the entrepreneurs out there in the world that want an AI project, there you go. There's a good one. Human psychology, understand human psychology of buying. So yeah, just a little.
Because again, AI doesn't understand that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But can it help an intelligent, experienced sales force, focus on certain things that are more likely than less likely? Maybe it can do
that. Where can I provide value? It's really, it always boils down to value. You know, this person is willing to give me some of their time. There's a cost to that. So they have to perceive they're getting something back in value. So what brings them value that would want them to have a conversation with me?
Very cool. Well, it's been great having you here in the Sky Lounge for an hour. And if you got any great travel stories that you'd like to share with us?
Woo. Yeah. So I was my wife and I went to Rome earlier this year.
Okay.
And I did a plethora of research before going there. I read travel books, YouTube videos, documentaries on the Baroque period of art, because that's what a lot of what was going on in Rome in the 1500s, the Baroque period, from a religious sense. That was when the Protestant Reformation was happening. So there was huge upheaval, and art that just exploded then. And so I did a ton of research on that. I was super excited to get there. And it was one of the few times where I was not disappointed, where I had super high expectations and went in there and was just absolutely flabbergasted by what I saw and what I experienced. And it was just one of those trips. And anybody that knows that travels, and especially travels internationally, something always goes wrong, and yet nothing went wrong. I'm like, every day was great. The weather was perfect. And we went in late January.
Okay. Which
nobody goes in late January. It is literally half price to go there, and there were hardly any tourists. You could just walk into, you have to get the big museums. You have to always have tickets in advance, but there were museums we just walked into that you would not be able to do that in the summer. But it was truly amazing. I'm trying to figure out how to get back there as soon as possible. But yeah, that was amazing.
Well, very cool. Well, following up from this, how can people follow up with you on the internet if they want to talk to you after this? Wheelsupsales.com
is my website. Best place to go. Fill out a form, and let's have a conversation. Let's see what kind of value I can bring to your organization.
Very cool. Well, Jim, thanks for being here in the Sky Lounge, and bye for now.
Thanks. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us in the Sky Lounge. Please like and subscribe to hear more from Tales from the Sky Lounge here and anywhere else you get your podcasts.